Imagine walking into a room and immediately sensing the undercurrents before anyone says a word. You notice who's anxious, who's overconfident, who is trying too hard to impress. You might not even consciously register it, but there's a quiet observer in you noticing it all. That observer is a glimpse into what emotionally intelligent people do naturally. They read the room, understand the invisible dynamics, and make choices that always put them ahead, without needing to dominate the conversation. Emotional intelligence isn't about being the loudest or the smartest in the room. It's about understanding emotions, their own, and those of everyone around them, and using that understanding to navigate life with subtle power. Most of us assume that influence comes from authority or volume. We see someone getting ahead and immediately think they must be aggressive, outgoing, or forceful. That's the surface level view, and it couldn't be further from the truth. People who rely on noise, posturing, or argument may win some battles, but they often lose the war. They're reactive, visible in their struggles, and easily manipulated by emotion. On the other hand, emotionally intelligent individuals have mastered a mindset that allows them to move strategically, almost invisibly. They don't need to fight for attention. They command it simply by the way they carry themselves, think, and respond. Emotional intelligence starts with self-awareness, and not in a superficial way. It's not just knowing that you're stressed or happy. It's about recognizing triggers, patterns, and the deeper currents of your emotional landscape. Someone with high emotional intelligence can feel irritation bubbling up and pause before reacting. They can sense frustration in a colleague before it's spoken aloud and adjust their approach accordingly. This self-awareness is the first step towards silent mastery, because once you understand yourself, you can anticipate how others will react, and you gain control over the influence you wield. Another crucial element is empathy, but not the cliché version of sympathy or feeling sorry for someone. This is strategic empathy. It's the ability to step into someone else's mental and emotional shoes and see the situation from their perspective. When most people argue or try to prove a point, they're focused entirely on themselves. They're thinking, how do I win this? Or, how can I be right? An emotionally intelligent person flips the script. They're constantly asking, what does this person need to feel heard? What pressures are they under? What is motivating them right now? That's how they can guide conversations, decisions, and outcomes without overtly pushing or forcing their agenda. Patience is another hidden component. Emotionally intelligent people understand timing. They know when to speak and, perhaps more importantly, when to stay silent. The world rewards impulsivity in short bursts, but mastery comes from restraint. Someone may dominate a meeting with loud opinions and constant interjections, but the person observing quietly, waiting for the right moment to interject, often walks away with a bigger impact. Silence isn't weakness. It's a tool that builds anticipation, authority, and influence. People unconsciously gravitate toward those who demonstrate calm control over their own reactions. Contrast this with the average approach most of us take. When stressed or challenged, we either react immediately, often emotionally, or we overcompensate by speaking too much, trying to assert dominance. We mistake volume for authority and action for progress. But the emotionally intelligent person understands the cost of impulsive reactions. They don't waste energy arguing over minor points or proving themselves to people who aren't worth the effort. Instead, they observe, analyze, and only act when their input has maximum effect. It's a mindset of precision and strategic engagement, not constant struggle. The most powerful aspect of this mindset is that it creates invisible leverage. People may not even realize they're being influenced. Decisions shift, behaviors change, and outcomes tilt in favor of the emotionally intelligent observer, all without a single confrontation. That quiet, confident control feels effortless to the outside world, but it's built on hours of self-reflection, emotional practice, and understanding the nuances of human behavior. When you begin to cultivate this mindset, you start to notice the difference in your own life. Arguments dissolve before they start, negotiations tilt subtly in your favor, and relationships deepen because people feel genuinely understood and seen. Ultimately, the hidden mindset of emotional intelligence is about awareness, empathy, patience, and strategic restraint. It's about understanding yourself and others on a level most people never even consider. The best part is that this skill isn't limited to extroverts or the naturally charismatic. It can be learned and refined with intention. By observing, reflecting, and adjusting your approach to interactions, you start moving through life with a silent power that commands respect, influence, and opportunity. The world doesn't always notice the subtle moves, but the results speak for themselves, and those who master this mindset always win, without saying a word. You've seen it countless times. Someone dominates a conversation, shouting over everyone, trying to prove themselves, yet somehow, they walk away with nothing. Meanwhile, there's that one person who barely speaks, but somehow, everyone is leaning toward their ideas, taking their suggestions seriously, and following their lead without even realizing it. That's not luck. That's strategy. The kind of silent, subtle influence emotionally intelligent people use to win every interaction. It's not about manipulation in a negative sense. It's about understanding human behavior so well that your presence alone moves the room. The first strategy they use is active listening. It sounds simple, almost obvious, but most people fail at it completely. When someone speaks, the average listener is already formulating their response, thinking about how to sound smart or defend their point. An emotionally intelligent person does something different. They focus entirely on the speaker, observing not just words but tone, body language, and micro-expressions. By doing this, they gather information that others miss, hidden emotions, unspoken objections, and subtle desires. And once they have this insight, they use it to shape the conversation in a way that feels organic and natural. People are drawn to someone who genuinely seems to understand them, and that's exactly the effect active listening creates. Another silent strategy is mirroring body language. This doesn't mean copying someone awkwardly. It's about subtle alignment. They match posture, gestures, and even tone in small, almost imperceptible ways. Humans are wired to trust people who are like them, often unconsciously. By mirroring, emotionally intelligent people create rapport instantly. The person across the table feels an inexplicable sense of connection and trust. And this opens doors that no argument or presentation ever could. This strategy alone can turn tense negotiations into cooperative discussions and skeptical colleagues into allies, without a single forceful word. Emotional calibration is another layer of their toolkit. They don't just sense emotions, they influence them. If someone in the room is anxious or defensive, the emotionally intelligent person adjusts their energy to diffuse tension. If confidence is needed, they project calm assurance. They understand that emotions are contagious, and they carefully guide the emotional climate so that outcomes favor them. This is why leaders with high emotional intelligence are often seen as effortlessly influential. Their influence isn't loud or demanding, it's pervasive and subtle, like a current beneath the surface shaping everything around it. Strategic silence is perhaps the most underestimated tactic. Most people feel compelled to fill every moment with words, explanations, or justifications. But silence can be incredibly powerful. When someone pauses instead of rushing to respond, it creates anticipation and encourages the other person to speak more than they intended. In negotiations, this often leads people to reveal crucial information or even make concessions without realizing it. Silence conveys confidence and control. It signals that you don't need validation from others to feel powerful. It's a tactic that shifts the balance of influence quietly but decisively. Subtle reinforcement is another tool. Emotionally intelligent people know that overt persuasion often triggers resistance. Instead of forcing agreement, they reinforce desired behaviors through small acknowledgments, nods, or selective praise. They highlight ideas without claiming ownership, guiding decisions while allowing others to feel they are in control. This approach makes people more receptive, and it creates allies rather than opponents. The power of this method is that it works across contexts, team meetings, personal relationships, or even social gatherings. People are influenced by the quiet, consistent reinforcement of ideas, often without realizing it. All of these strategies are interwoven, creating a web of influence that is invisible but undeniable. It's not about one tactic in isolation. It's about layering awareness, listening, empathy, mirroring, calibration, silence, and subtle reinforcement into a coherent approach. When someone has mastered these skills, their presence alone shapes outcomes. They don't argue to be right. They guide the conversation so that the right path naturally emerges, aligning others' actions with their objectives without confrontation or effort. What makes this approach so remarkable is the contrast with typical behavior. Most people react emotionally, argue to assert dominance, or rush to speak, hoping to prove their point. The results are often chaotic, relationships strain, and opportunities slip away. Emotionally intelligent individuals do the opposite. They pause, observe, and act only when it maximizes impact. Their influence is strategic, deliberate, and patient. They create an environment where the people around them willingly follow, often thinking it was their own decision. This is the silent power that transforms interactions and guarantees consistent wins in life, business, and personal relationships. Applying these strategies requires practice and intention. You start by observing, noticing emotional cues, and reflecting on your responses. You practice silence in conversations, mirroring subtly, and listening without the need to interrupt. Over time, these behaviors become second nature, and the influence you exert silently grows exponentially. The world responds not to those who shout, but to those who understand. That's the advantage emotionally intelligent people wield. They shape outcomes, guide decisions, and inspire trust, all without speaking more than necessary. When you combine these strategies, listening deeply, mirroring subtly, calibrating emotions, leveraging silence, and reinforcing quietly, you unlock a form of influence that feels effortless to others but requires disciplined self-awareness. This is a blueprint for winning without words, and it's available to anyone willing to cultivate emotional intelligence intentionally. The results aren't just theoretical. They manifest in career growth, smoother relationships, and a quiet authority that leaves others both admiring and following your lead. Winning without words is not just about strategy or reading others. It's about mastering yourself. The inner game is what separates those who occasionally influence outcomes from those who consistently shape their world without effort. Confidence without arrogance, calm under pressure, and clarity in intention are the foundations. Imagine walking into a high-stakes meeting. You've already done the work, you understand the dynamics, you've observed the patterns, and you know exactly when to speak. But what truly makes you unstoppable in that room is your inner state. You radiate calm certainty, and others pick up on it immediately, even if they don't consciously recognize why. This is the quiet power that emotionally intelligent people cultivate, the mastery of their own emotions and energy before they attempt to influence anyone else. The first step in building this inner game is self-trust. So many of us rely on external validation, constantly seeking approval from colleagues, friends, or superiors. Emotionally intelligent people operate differently. They develop confidence rooted in their own assessment of reality, their preparation, and their values. This self-trust allows them to act decisively and remain composed, even when others are panicking or trying to provoke a reaction. When you trust yourself, silence becomes a tool, not a void. You don't feel the need to fill every moment with words or justifications. Your presence alone communicates authority, and your actions carry weight. Another cornerstone is emotional regulation. Life is full of triggers, unexpected criticism, unfair situations, or high-pressure environments. Most people react immediately, often explosively, and compromise their influence in the process. Emotionally intelligent people pause, breathe, and choose their response deliberately. They are aware of the ripple effect their emotional state has on others. When you can remain steady in the face of chaos, you create a gravitational pull. People instinctively follow your lead. Your composure becomes a silent magnet that draws cooperation and respect. And this is far more powerful than dominating through argument or volume. Visualization and mental rehearsal are subtle but potent tools. Before challenging conversations or high-pressure situations, emotionally intelligent people often visualize the interaction in detail. They imagine possible reactions, plan responses, and align themselves with the outcomes they want to achieve. This isn't about controlling others. It's about controlling their own energy, focus, and intention. When the actual moment arrives, they operate from a place of calm mastery rather than reactive stress. This mental preparation transforms nerves into quiet confidence, allowing influence to occur naturally rather than being forced. Daily practices reinforce this inner mastery. Journaling emotions, reflecting on triggers, and assessing interactions critically help maintain clarity and growth. Self-talk is calibrated to strengthen belief in oneself, and mindfulness practices anchor awareness in the present moment. Emotionally intelligent people recognize that their inner state is the engine of all influence. When the engine is strong, silent strategies like listening, mirroring, and subtle reinforcement function seamlessly. When it falters, even the best strategies feel mechanical and fail to resonate. The inner game ensures authenticity and alignment between intention and action. A key part of this mastery is embracing discomfort. Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones, and emotionally intelligent people understand that. They step into challenging situations without needing to dominate or control, relying instead on their preparation, awareness, and composure. They welcome tension as a chance to practice patience, observe reactions, and apply their subtle influence. By reframing discomfort as opportunity, they maintain calm, execute strategy effectively, and leave a lasting impression on everyone in the room. Contrast this with the average approach. Many people focus solely on external tactics, scripts, arguments, or assertive gestures, without cultivating inner control. They speak loudly but nervously, push ideas aggressively but inconsistently, and exhaust themselves trying to influence outcomes. Their influence is visible but shallow. It depends on other people's attention and reactions. Emotional intelligence flips this paradigm. The internal mastery provides a stable foundation that external tactics can leverage. The result is a rare combination. Influence that is effortless, consistent, and deeply respected. Ultimately, the inner game is about aligning your mind, emotions, and energy with the outcomes you desire. It is self-trust, emotional regulation, mental rehearsal, and disciplined daily practice that ensures your strategies land effectively. When combined with the mindset and tactical strategies we discussed earlier, it completes the formula for silent victory. You move through the world not reacting, not pleading, not forcing, but quietly, confidently, and intentionally shaping outcomes. People sense it. They respect it. And, most importantly, you achieve it without ever needing to raise your voice. Mastering your inner game is a lifelong journey, but the payoff is profound. It transforms relationships, negotiations, and leadership dynamics. You begin to realize that influence is less about what you say and more about who you are, how you carry yourself, and how you navigate emotions, both yours and others. That inner mastery becomes the invisible force that powers every win, every connection, and every decision. In a world full of noise, your silent presence speaks volumes. By now, you've seen how emotionally intelligent people operate, how they understand emotions, use subtle strategies, and cultivate inner mastery. But the real magic isn't in the tactics alone. It's in the combination of mindset, strategy, and inner game that allows someone to win consistently without ever raising their voice. This is the essence of silent influence, the ability to shape outcomes, guide decisions, and leave a lasting impact while appearing effortless. The results speak louder than words, and that is the ultimate power. Think about it for a moment. How often have you witnessed someone take control of a situation simply through their presence? Their calm confidence, the way they listen intently, their patience, their subtle gestures, and the way they make people feel understood. All of this together creates a force that is invisible yet undeniable. It's the quiet authority that draws people in and motivates action, not because of fear or dominance, but because of respect, trust, and clarity. That is the kind of influence that lasts. It is sustainable, authentic, and remarkably empowering. The beauty of this approach is that it's available to anyone willing to cultivate it intentionally. You don't have to be naturally charismatic, loud, or extroverted. You don't need to dominate conversations or insist on being right. Instead, you start with awareness, noticing your own triggers, observing the world with empathy, and understanding the emotional currents at play. From there, you layer strategy, listening deeply, mirroring subtly, calibrating emotions, using silence to your advantage, and reinforcing ideas without forcing them. Finally, you strengthen the inner game, building confidence, regulating your emotions, preparing mentally, and practicing consistent self-reflection. Combine these elements, and you move through the world with a silent authority that others naturally gravitate toward. When you internalize this, life changes in ways you never expected. Conversations that once felt stressful become opportunities for subtle influence. Meetings that were intimidating transform into spaces where your ideas are recognized and respected. Relationships deepen because people feel truly seen and understood. And most importantly, you gain freedom. The freedom to act from confidence rather than fear, to create results without needing to argue or fight, and to lead in a way that feels authentic to you. The lesson is simple, yet profound. Winning doesn't require volume, force, or aggression. It requires understanding, awareness, strategy, and inner mastery. The emotionally intelligent person doesn't just react to life. They shape it quietly, deliberately, and effectively. And the best part is that this is something you can practice every single day. With intention and patience, you can cultivate the silent influence that transforms ordinary interactions into extraordinary outcomes. So take this knowledge, embrace it, and begin applying it in your life. Observe more, speak less, and act with deliberate awareness. Trust yourself, manage your emotions, and refine your strategies. Over time, you will notice a shift, not just in how others respond to you, but in how you experience the world. Influence, respect, and success will follow, not because you demanded them, but because you earned them quietly. This is your power, your advantage, and your path to winning without ever saying a word.